Hey everybody, this is Mitch Ferraro from F Street. I hope everyone's having an amazing day out there today. I'm always pumped for these conversations. Super pumped for this one because I get to talk with one of our principals, Nick Jung. He's our development director here. He does all things development, acquisitions. Really excited about this one because today we're going to be talking about tax incremental financing. I'm not going to bore you to death, I promise. The reason why we want to talk about this is because this is one of the main things that we use in all of our multifamily developments here at F Street. It's a partnership that we have with municipalities. And I got Nick on today because he's going to go through all of that stuff. So Nick, thank you so much for your time. I know you're a super busy dude. Before we get into talking tax incremental financing, just give the people an understanding of who you are, what you do, and then we'll dive right into it.
All right, thanks, Mitch. Always more enthusiasm than me. I'm excited to talk about hopefully the world's not most boring topic, to your point, but what I find really fun. But yeah, Nick Jung, I'm one of the principals here at F Street. Like Mitch said, working on everything, doing acquisitions, sourcing deals. Also an attorney, so happen to do a lot of our legal work, which is why the background for here on the TIF work came into play, and we're going to continue to work on it. So that's a little bit, otherwise doing everything. Yeah. A to Z. Yeah. We kind of have to, right?
Yeah, you have to. Around here, we're always buzzing. We always say the boys are buzzing around here. We're kind of doing everything from multifamily development, industrial acquisitions. We have our private debt fund. But again, today we're going to be talking about tax incremental financing. Now, I guess I know we can dive super deep right away, but let's just try to give a broad overview of what tax incremental financing is and why we use it.
Yeah, what is a TIF? So very simply put, a TIF is where a municipality or a taxing authority can just say, if you create increment, so if I build a new building on a piece of land that's worth $1 and I build a $10 million building, I've now created $10 million of assessed value that was not there before. And that taxing authority can take that money. So if you have a $10 million building now that's generating, we'll just say for simplicity purposes, $100,000 of tax revenue a year through the real estate taxes, that can go to pay for other things. Because otherwise, if it goes into a TIF, it goes into a TIF fund, very simply put. So how it's used is it's a tool. It's a tool for municipalities. And it's a tool for municipality to support development or to support infrastructure. And here in Wisconsin, we say but for that TIF, the development never happens, but for needing the TIF, the deal doesn't happen either. So it's kind of a push-pull on both sides. But the way we look at it as it's a public-private partnership, it's great for the municipality, it's great for the community, and it works for us as a developer to make a deal work.
Yeah, let's talk about how deals work, because we do this on almost everything that we do multifamily development. How does it work for us to do these, and why do we do them?
Yeah, that's a great question. So how it works for us is as a developer, when we go and build we'll use multifamily development, for example. When we build a new building, that building costs X and produces X revenue. Building costs $10 million. It creates $500,000 of net operating income. Well, of that net operating income, a portion is operating expenses. Those operating expenses are real estate taxes. So when we go to a municipality, if it costs too much and we don't produce enough revenue, that deal doesn't financially work. I could talk about target numbers, but when you do that and you can go to the municipality and say, look, you want this here, you want apartments here, you want workforce housing, or you just need more housing because our community needs it and we have a blighted site. We can go in there and build it for you, but we can't build it because it costs too much and we don't get enough rents. So how do we bridge that gap? Well, the municipality can say, look, we'll give you tax incremental financing up to a certain portion, and that'll help you bridge that gap. And that's what it creates, we call win-wins. I mean, that's a win-win-win.
Yeah, for sure. And what is the municipality? What are they giving? What is the actual TIF? Like, what are we getting out of it to make sure that the deal works?
Yeah, that's a good question. So what is the city giving? So TIF is, I almost feel like we need to dive back into what is TIF and like the original. So TIF was originally created in the 50s. The first one was in California, actually. And the idea behind the original creation of TID was essentially, before TIDs or TIFs, what other means do you have to develop? And federal government giving up money, or the state government giving money, municipalities really didn't have as many tools.
Yep.
They would have to bond themselves. They would have to do something where they couldn't find the money or create something to incentivize someone to build there, whether that was to build infrastructure. So it was essentially a way for state legislators to say, look, we'll create a law that allows local municipalities to utilize the new increment they create.
Sure.
And by doing that, they can finance things.
Yep.
So, I mean, so that's really the impetus of it. It's now in almost every state. The only state that doesn't have it as legislated law is the state of Arizona.
Okay.
And in Wisconsin here, we very actively use it because it's really one of the only tools we have. Because just imagine if you had to go do a real estate development deal and you had to go to the state legislator and convince a couple hundred politicians to do it, that would just be insurmountably difficult. And that still needs to be done for projects throughout the country for major infrastructure, major, a stadium or large major road projects. That 100% makes sense. But when you want to get hyper local, TIF is one of those great tools in a lot of states where they can use it to finance projects.
Yeah, and like for us here, we've done it in West Bend, Brown Deer, Oak Creek, and we've got some other spots that we're looking at right now. I think one of the biggest things that investors that might want to invest with us is, listen, if a municipality is not going to do this, we're not even looking for land in that area, right? We're looking for...
That's what it's turning into. And it's very unfortunate, but we talked earlier, the cost to build something versus the revenue it produces when you have a municipality that isn't we'll call it a core market, like a downtown market, or a really, really strong suburb.
Yeah.
It costs the same to build in a rural community or a suburb as it does in like a downtown. I mean, if you're building the same product, I can't go build it cheaper over there. Like it's still the same labor pool and same material. So that's the problem. Is for us, it's I want to work with communities that do this because it needs to be a partnership and it has to financially work for our investors.
Right. Do you ever see it where you're almost educating the municipalities or helping them through, maybe if they are not used to doing it, or you're trying to help them understand how it actually works? Do you ever see that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's an education process for everybody. I mean, every municipality does TIFs differently, whether they do them or not. And the way we look at it is different than other developers look at it. It's all the same. It's all a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
But the spreadsheet is just probably the smallest part of it, because it's community buy-in, it's like city council buy-in or village board buy-in, and then you're also getting buy-in from neighbors. This is when it takes a village. That's the way we look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you do a lot of, going to those city council meetings and making sure that people are understanding exactly what we're trying to do. I'm sure also too in those, you might be getting neighbors that, maybe upset or don't know really what's going on. And then once we're able to be there and talk with them to get them to understand what we're trying to do, it's a little more clear of, the type of development that we're going to go put in their community. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. So when we do a TIF, we're essentially getting rebated on taxes, right? Can maybe talk a little bit about that? Like that's what the TIF actually is doing.
Yeah, I would look at it as essentially a rebate, or it's additional revenue that's created, or it can be done in different ways. So the way you can look at it is there's multiple ways to get the money back.
Yep.
And keeping local here in Wisconsin, traditionally municipalities are going to do one of two things. They're going to do upfront TIF, where essentially they're going to say, look, that $10 million building you created that generates $100,000 a year, over the life of the TID, and the TID can be, in Wisconsin, it's typically 20 or 27 years. I could dive into that. But say it was a 20-year TID, $10 million, $100,000 a year, that's $2 million of essentially revenue that you've now created that never happened in the first place. With that $2 million, we can look at it two ways. One, the city can say, all right, we're going to give you, the day you close on your construction loan, we're going to write you a check for the net present value of that $2 million. So 20 years, call that $1 million. Here's $1 million check for doing the development. We're going to bond that or borrow that from our general funds. And then the TID it gets paid back. It's basically like financing. It's additional financing on the property created through real estate taxes. Or they'll do a PayGo rebate. So every year, we pay our real estate taxes and they write us a check back. And that can be and that's where the negotiations happen. Is it 100%? Is it 0%, which is getting nothing back, or is it 50? So am I getting a $50,000? And that's where when we're going to municipalities, it's, hey, here's essentially the yields that investors require on these type of developments. How do we get there? And that's where we have different TIFs. On our West Allis project, it was 100% rebate. And it's 100% rebate for approximately 25 years. But also when we hit a certain number and we've gotten rebated a certain amount, it ends. But that's because we know the amount. So that's, and then, other deals, it's, I'll use Village 43 as an example. It's 90+% for the first 10, 11 years. And then after those 10, 11 years, it drops down to 65. So, it just tails. It
so
just
there's
depends.
really no, I guess you could almost say like right or wrong reason or to do it or right or wrong way to do it. It's basically negotiation between us and the municipality, and then obviously making the numbers work for us to then say, hey, this does work. And now we can go to our investors and say, we are going to be developing this. Do you want to be a part of this development? And again, when we go ahead and present these types of opportunities to our investors, we have these exact types of conversations with investors so they can understand if it's a good investment for them or not. You're changing back and forth between TIF and TID. Let's just, I know that's going to be very hard to differentiate, but TIF and TID, what is the difference?
Good question. So a TID, a tax incremental district, is essentially the area or the boundaries of this TID are parcels. So that's the really cool part is I'm going to stick with Wisconsin. Every state's different. But sticking with Wisconsin, just because we work a lot here, is the TID itself, the municipality can create into any parcels. So it can be, you can have project-specific TIDs. So we'll use an example of our West Allis project. That was a very specific TID to our building. That was why they did it. We're essentially paying for it. There's other municipalities that are doing massive TIDs. They're doing overlay TIDs that cover a really large area, whether it's like a downtown business district or a large rehabilitation of an entire area. And it's just the district. So every parcel that pays taxes inside that TID, that money, whatever that base tax line is now going into that TID. So if there was 100 parcels and that 100 parcels at $100 million of assessed value, it's kind of cool. Everything going up to that 100 is still going to the city, the school board, and the county. The increment above the 100 million, so say that 20-year TID creates increment, that all goes into that TID. And the city, through that TID increment created, whether it's going back to developers for putting more money into it, or just value that's created in that TID, they can use to do improvements in the TID. So that's where a city might say, we're doing a TID in this area because we want to, it's blighted. We want to improve it. We want to add more infrastructure, bring sewer out to support development. So that's a TID, a really, really long way of explaining what a TID is. And a TIF is tax incremental financing. So that's essentially what we're doing when we're tax incremental financing based on the increment we get or whatever our developer agreement with the municipality is.
So is it safe to say that you can do TIFs in TIDs, like in
That's a good way to put it.
Like inside districts like that. I think that's a pretty good way to kind of say it. Now, when we go ahead and we're doing these developments, what is the process like to even start like saying, okay, we know this municipality could be a good municipality. I just want investors to understand, like, what are we trying to look at and source when we start these? Because obviously these take a long time. A development project takes a long time to just get from A to Z, meaning like we're going to start saying to investors, we're ready to go for you to invest in this deal. What are we looking for when we're starting at the A start of the process?
It's a great question. Sometimes we're not even looking. That's one way I describe it is sometimes it's a municipality coming to us. We have a reputation in the community of being a strong public-private partner and providing a really high quality product for the long term. That's one. The other way is, we are, actively just staying in communication with municipalities that we know are in need of housing or in need of development or want more development. So it's myself and the rest of the team, we continue to just keep these conversations going with municipalities and know that there's others out there. And that we dive into too with significant market research. I mean, we put a lot of research and time into understanding, you know, where populations are going, where jobs are going. That's always a large piece of it. Here in Wisconsin, we're more of a stable market generally than you have the large new populations going into the southeastern United States or to the Southwest, or the migrations out of New York and out of California. Yet those are still strong markets in a lot of respects. So there's so much that goes into it. But it's really just continuing to thrive in those relationships in the areas, hey, these are great areas. The projects we've built over the last 3 to 5 years and the projects we're scheduling out to build over the next 1 to 3. We know they're great municipalities. We know they're great partners, and we know it's great communities that deserve this. And that's one of my favorite parts, is when we do these partnerships and we're doing this TIF. Well, guess what? When that TID ends and this project in 20 years or 10 years or 25 years or 27, that they get all that increment, so that they're keeping their revenue, and that's that building's there forever. So I think it's a huge win, and it's kind of exciting that these things get to happen in municipalities and throughout the country, because a city can work with a developing partner.
Yeah, and I think it's just the whole long-term aspect where the city's saying, hey, we're going to give incentive up front to bring developers in, get them to develop something that we need here. And then long run, we're going to have this here for 100, 200 years, however long it is, and we're going to be able to generate revenue off of it once the TIF is completed or once it's done. So
absolutely,
I think it's a really cool thing to be a part of, especially as an investor. I talk to investors all the time, and they're super excited about being in our Brown Deer project or our West Allis or our Oak Creek, because they are a part of this development that is going to bring really nice assets to that area. People are going to live there. We typically have really good returns, and we try to target anywhere between 18-22% targeted IRRs, internal rate of returns on those. And I do think also too is that we are the type of jockey or the operator that does a really good job with these things, that people can sit down with us when we have these developments or we have these deals, and they can talk with you or myself or Lane or Brian, anyone on our team, to help them better understand if this can be a good fit for them. So Brian, Nikki, before we get out of here, I think I just want you to just quickly touch on that partnership aspect that we have with the municipality, how closely we're working with them. Because I think it's important for investors to know that we aren't going into these situations where it's like a pulling teeth with the municipality, even though it could be like that sometimes. But it is a partnership that we're with them. So I just kind of want you to touch on that before we get out
absolutely. I mean, I think that's one of our biggest, we'll call it strengths, and biggest pursuits is partners in municipalities. I mean, there's a lot of municipalities out there, and there's some that I would say, are playing a very short-term game, and there's some that are playing the infinite game. And the infinite game is, how do we continue to thrive and develop our municipality? And there's great municipal leaders out there that are continuing to do that. And we're seeing that in the municipalities we're working in, that they understand we're coming as a partner. We're not, we have to make money. I mean, we're not going to go do it for free. But also, we're doing it because we're creating value. We're creating value for the municipality. We're creating value for the community. And we're doing it through partners. Because we look at, when we're working with the municipality, we look at them as they're a partner. Because guess what? If you go into it where you're fighting uphill and everything is pulling teeth, well, guess what? You just built a building there, and your building's stuck there for the next 80 years. So that's the way, at least we look at it. And that's why our projects are unique. That's why we don't have, hey, we put up this exact product in 80 municipalities throughout the United States. It's no, we want to make an impact. And that's at least the strategy on the development side on multifamily, is lots of great communities, and we have great product that we feel we can deliver that make an impact. And to make it work financially, there has to be TIF financing in a lot of these communities, and that creates a win-win. So I think it's when communities take that long-term view, that's who we look as a long-term partner, because we're in it long-term for our investors. That's our number one client, and that's the biggest part of it is, hey, we got to support the community, our investors, and make sure everyone's creating a win-win.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Nikki, thank you so much for your time today. I really, really appreciate it. If anyone is watching this and they're ever interested in learning more, or we are going to be having some development deals come up this year, you want to hear about those, understand our pipeline, please feel free to reach out to me. You can reach me at mitch@fstreet.com. Nick, thank you so much for your time today. I really, really appreciate it. I hope everyone has an amazing day, and we'll talk with you all soon. Thank you.